getting things ready for the net. Hope everyone's had a good weekend. I know folks out in the west are probably underwater. Yep, I can hear myself on the loop. All right, so yeah, I thought I had the volume turned down. Okay, there we go. Anyway, hope you're all having a good weekend. We are going to talk about flooding. So while I've got this up here, as we prep for the net, take a look at some of the other nets that are in the area that you can listen to on your ham radio or scanner. If you've got a radio or scanner, you can plug these frequencies in and listen at those designated times and listen for various nets that are taking place. This is in the East Tennessee area. These are nets that I've been able to hear or check into. So I'll let you enjoy that while I'm getting things ready. So we're going to talk about the SKYWARN spotter training coming up. We're going to talk about the Weather 101s that Nashville is doing, and we're going to talk about flooding. I hate what people say, but I'm going to say it here. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll show you our Facebook group real quick. There's our Facebook page. At some point I'm going to do Facebook and YouTube simultaneously, but just haven't had time to really get into the weeds on how to do both. But this is our Facebook page. It's, if you look up facebook.com ET SKYWARN, you can find us there. So I'll put us back on to the various nets, and then we will get started. By the way, as far as severe weather, it does look like there's not going to be much in the way of severe weather tonight. It's going to be cooler with rain showers and possibly a few thunderstorms that might linger overnight, but other than that, nothing severe. So I think we're in the clear as far as severe weather is concerned here in East Tennessee. Also got to find my script. Where is my script? I got to call the net with a script. I think this is it. I will drag it up here out of the way. So I got three monitors. I got my laptop over here to the right. I got my main monitor to the left. I got like a 32-inch TV made as a third monitor right above. So if you see me staring up like this, I'm sometimes looking up at the third monitor. KZ4WTF. Good evening to you, sir. And where'd you say? Oh, Copper Hill. Okay. KZ4. What the okay, nah, never mind. Haven't heard that one before. Anyway, okay. got you in as a YouTube check-in. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Is frequency in use K for HSM? Attention all stations, attention all stations. This is Greg, assuming net control is WX4TYS in Knoxville for the East Tennessee SKYWARN training net here on the 146.940 repeater. All traffic will be directed via net control, as this is a directed net. This net is open to anyone and everyone. Tonight's net will consist of announcements and a brief training segment. We will take check-ins throughout the net. Also, if you're listening and you want to participate, if you're not able to due to reception issues or licensing issues, you can join us on YouTube. I am doing a live stream. We have it on our Facebook page. I have the link up there. It's also on YouTube if you do a search for East Tennessee SKYWARN D5 Training Net. You should be able to find something of this sort. So, we've already got a couple of people checking in via YouTube, so thank you very much. Are there any of my D5 SKYWARN coordinators on the frequency? And if so, please check in now and let me know if you got any announcements. This is K4HSM as WX4TYS for East Tennessee SKYWARN District 5 Training Net.
AA4WX with an announcement. Net control. Kilo Golf 4, Quebec Whiskey India, KG4, QWI, Brandon, no announcements, listening.
And things are picking up. Let's see. I'll get you in there in just a second, WED. Alright, acknowledging Josh, AA4WX, and Brandon, KG4KWI. Thank you both for checking in. Josh, go ahead.
Greg, I about called you Rick. About to get fired. Given Greg,
you're going to get fired. You call me Rick.
A4WX, freshly back from the Raleigh Ham Fest. Folks, I'm going to tell you that was a wonderful, wonderful Ham Fest. Very, very impressed with the turnout, the involvement with the Boneyard vendors there. I would go so far to say that this may rival Huntsville. It really surprised me how big of a Ham Fest it is. Couple of notes. Most everybody here knows that I run a pretty active YouTube channel called Ham Shack TV.
You can get on camera.
I have a video posted of the full tour. It's on there. You just look at Rars Fest 2025.
Put on your Easter bonnet.
That's the video of the whole tour of the thing. Secondly, I attended their SKYWARN class.
It's my daughter. It's my daughter.
Some very interesting information.
You'll see it here in a second.
Apparently, they allow their SKYWARN coordinators to teach the SKYWARN class. That is not something MRX
I'll check you in.
So this, it was a very
I'll check you in.
course. I did record the vast majority of it, and that video will be
She's
coming
going
out
to Tellico Plains
at 6 o'clock. So if you're interested to see how Central Carolina does it, it'll be a very good video. So it'll be on my channel
Love you
tomorrow
too.
at 6 o'clock.
That's fine.
Back to you, Greg. A4WX.
Hey, is my radio charged by any?
No, because you got the charger. Comment, go ahead. Yeah, you got the charger. I mean,
Greg,
you
you'll remember, MRX actually gets to Josh. There was some restrictions on it
Oh, I can charge it
back in the old days. Gosh, I'm trying to think of what date or timeline we were talking about. But we used to teach, or there was
Love
a
you too,
couple
son.
that used to teach classes that were considered the advanced spotter and also basic recognition or basic understanding of radar. And MRX used to allow that under Howard Waldron's leadership. However, that's since changed. But it's no surprise. I think there are other places that still do allow it. And I think back when the Storm Ready program first rolled out, that's when that was encouraged. KG4QWI. That's quite interesting. I never knew that. Pretty cool, though. Might be a lot easier to have SKYWARN courses if they brought that back. I don't know. Might be up for some conversation with Anthony. Back to you, Greg.
All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for taking up some time there. I was saying goodbye to my daughter. She's heading back out to Monroe County to do some more forestry stuff. So I stepped away for a moment. Honestly, I didn't catch what y'all were talking about. So the people on YouTube probably heard all my conversation, but unfortunately, I didn't catch everything there. But give me the cliff notes on Discord. But Josh, I saw your video last night. Very good video. It does remind me of Huntsville being an all indoor ham fest. Hopefully I'll be able to go next year. I was wanting to go this year, but timing wasn't the greatest. But maybe next year we'll try and make it out that way. Any other comments or questions for Josh on his announcement? K for HSM. Alright, nothing heard. I'm just putting in some notes here as well as on our check-ins. So I've got some check-ins from YouTube, so we'll get to the others here in a second. Are there any other coordinators from other districts, kind of a liaison station-like? Any other coordinators or net control stations that would like to check in just to let us know they're listening? Okay, for HSN.
This is K0LJM, Kilo Zero Lima Juliet Mike, and I'm coordinator for District 4, calling in from Happy District 4.
Where is Happy District 4? I don't see it on my Google Maps. I know it's Rockwood.
Waha, Waha, Waha. Kilo Zero Golf Yankee Oscar, also with K0LJM. Over.
You both are happy, I can tell. All right. Thanks, guys, for checking in, and appreciate you being there tonight. Hopefully, everything's going well down in your neck of the woods over in, I believe you're Rockwood, correct?
Kingston.
Shh. Okay, Kingston, Rockwood. After a few years, you'd think I'd figure it out by now. I used to have family in Kingston, and we'd have to go through Rockwood to get to them. So anyway, it's but that's been many moons ago. So anyway, thanks guys. Bart and Gene got you both in there for checking in. Any other liaisons would like to check in before we get to generals? Alright, nothing heard. At this time, we'll start taking check-ins. When you do check in, please give us your call sign, followed by your name and your location, and please check in one at a time so that I can make sure I've got you logged in correctly. Again, call sign phonetically, international phonetics are preferred, followed by your name and location, and we'll start taking check-ins one at a time. This is WX4TYS, East Tennessee SKYWARN Training Net.
Net control.
Excuse me.
Net control, this is Kilo Romeo 4 Alpha X-Ray Echo, Joe in Sevierville.
Acknowledging KR4 AXE, Joe in Sevierville. Is that right, Joe? I keep wanting to give you a different call sign for some reason.
No, that's right, KR4 AXE.
KR4.
It is correct.
I keep wanting to say KJ4 for some reason. It's silly. Anyway. All right, got you in there, Joe. Thank you, sir. Next check-in.
Kilo 4 Whiskey November Delta Johnny up here in Jacksboro.
All right, Johnny, got you Kilo 4 Whiskey November Delta in Jacksboro. Thank you for checking in, and appreciate you being there tonight. Next check-in, please. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yes, he is.
For Tango Mike Whiskey, Kathy, Sevier County.
Okay, we got a double there, but I got Kathy, Kilo 4 Tango Mike Whiskey, and got you in Sevier County. Give me just a second while I get my timestamp in here. All right, there was another station that was checking in. Got cut off a little bit. Try it again there, station.
This is Kilo, Quebec 4, Quebec Charlie Juliet, KQ4, QCJ, Caleb down in Tellico Plains.
All right, Caleb, got you in there. KQ4, QCJ, and Tellico Plains. My daughter's going to be heading down that way here just a little bit. Real quick, well, I'm gonna go off the rails here just a second here. What's a good repeater down in Tellico Plains that someone that might be down in that area can try, whether it be for SKYWARN or for general conversation? What's a good repeater that you can use?
WB4GBI repeater. Well, there's a couple. Monroe County Aries and SKYWARN, we're on 147315. Positive 0.6 with 141.3 on the tone. 145.25. That one is a negative offset, and 100 on the tone, both input and output tone. That one does pretty well as well. And then for very wide area, 147.180. Believe that one's a positive as well. And the tone on that, if I'm remembering correctly, well, I'm not even going to go into what that one is. No, stand by. I got it right here, actually. Tone on the 1.8 is 118.8, so same as this one. But all those do pretty well. Wait. The 147.
Thanks for getting Ken, Josh.
SKYWARN. There's a host of other ones that work well. The 625, top of the world machine, you can get into it from quite a few places. It may not be the best, and there's another one up there. But anyway, that's 3 or 4 that would be a good try. Back to you, KQ4 QCJ.
All right, appreciate that. And you said 7315 is your SKYWARN designated repeater down there?
Affirm, yeah, that's what we're using for Aries and SKYWARN at the moment, 147315. It's, I think you've gotten into it from Knoxville way a couple of times on our nets. KQ4QCJ, back to that.
Yeah, I've been able to do it for a couple times, and I know the 718. I think they're using it for SKYWARN as well down in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, because I know I've heard them being active at times too. So, all right, well, thank you, sir, and appreciate that. It serves a dual purpose: one, to find out some SKYWARN alternates that are in the area, and also, like I said, my daughter's heading down that way. We're trying to do a thing where she and I can talk to one another. We're trying to find a good repeater while she's down there near Cherahela. So anyway, thank you, sir. Alrighty, got Ken, KQ4DIJ. I believe he's a check-in as well from Boyd's Creek. Ken, did we get you in there?
Yeah, we did. Just trying to see if you got Pat in there. I got her going over here, so hopefully we can get her approved in there so she can listen in on Facebook.
Yeah, we got her in there. I don't have a Facebook live stream. It's just on YouTube only. I'm working on trying to do it where I can simulcast on Facebook and YouTube both at the same time. I just haven't had time to really focus on that. So, all right, thank you, sir. And yeah, I do have Pat's name, and I got her down as a YouTube check-in. So thank you, sir. All right, next station. This is WX4TYS, East Tennessee SKYWARN District 5 net.
Net control. Kilo Oscar 4 Juliet Charlie Lima. Jeff and Halls checked it on YouTube and checked it in on the air as well.
All right, Jeff, got you in there from Halls, and line 9 there, Josh. Got you in there, and appreciate you checking in again. Sound good from Halls. Appreciate, as always. Next check-in, please. It's nice to not have to type everything.
Net control. This is Whiskey for Delta Foxtrot Bravo. Jason.
He almost forgot his new call. Almost forgot your new call, didn't you there, Jason?
Pretty much. Still getting me.
I know. Well, you know, when you're used to it for like 20 years, I guess it does kind of stick to you. So I've thought about getting my call sign changed, and I just can't do it. Too attached to the hot spicy mustard. So anyway, thanks a lot, and good to hear you, Jason. All right, next check-in, please. This is WX4TYS, East Tennessee SKYWARN District 5 Training Net.
Net control. This is Kilo 8. Tango Mike Charlie.
Sounded like he was trying to forget his call sign. All right, Kilo 8, Tango Mike Charlie. Got you in there. Name and your location?
My name's Terry. I'm over here in East Knoxville by the new Amazon building.
Yeah, over there by the old Easttown Mall there. I could never call it Knoxville Center. So anyway, thanks a lot. Appreciate you checking in there. Next check-in, please.
Kilo Quebec 4, Oscar Delta Yankee, KQ4 ODY Nick in West Knox.
I don't do anything with Twitch. All right, got you there, Nick. KQ4 Oscar Delta Yankee in West Knoxville. Is that correct?
Roger, roger.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next check-in, please. Twitch.
Net control. Net control, this is Alpha India 0 India Alpha Ivan Well.
Okay, Ivan, got a palindrome there. Alpha India 0 India Alpha. Down in Loudon. Appreciate you. Thanks for checking in. Next check-in, please.
Kilo Oscar 4, Victor Juliet Charlie, Roger in Blunt County.
Thank you, Roger. Kilo Oscar 4, Victor Juliet Charlie in Blunt County. Good signal tonight. Thank you, sir, and appreciate you checking in. Next check-in, please.
Recheck.
You go ahead.
Just a heads up, AA4WX. I'm getting thunder, pretty loud thunder here at the house. I haven't checked the radar. Are we up for against anything? Have you noticed?
Well, let's see. The weather service there said there would be some scattered spotty stuff, but nothing severe was expected. Their quote was a few rumbles of thunder. So I can see there's a cell that's around in your area right now. But as far as the severity or anything like that, there's no watches or warnings or special weather statements issued at this time.
Roger, just wasn't expecting to hear thunder. Back to you, Greg. AA4WX.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I'm looking on my lightning map right now, and there's a few dots of it south of the airport and slightly west of the airport, south of Louisville, west of Maryville. There's a couple of them in Maryville, and it might be tracking to the northeast, so it might be heading over towards Eagleton Village. So, Jason, you and Josh, be careful. Josh, if you need to duck out for any reason, let me know, and I'll take back over the describing.
Net control.
Go ahead.
ISD2, I've got it pulled up, and Josh, I'm showing only one strike. Actually, a second just showed up on the screen, both within under 2 miles of you.
I'm on the portable. I'm okay. We're good to continue there.
All right, sounds good. Just duck and cover. So, all right. Thanks for the heads up there. Yeah, if you're near the airport, use caution. There is looks like a small thunderstorm in the area. Not every thunderstorm is a severe thunderstorm, so just be mindful of that. All right. Any other check-ins? This is K4HSM as WX4TYS for the East Tennessee SKYWARN District 5 Training Net.
This is Alpha Echo 4, Quebec Uniform. My name is Pat in Pikeville.
Alpha Echo 4 Quebec Uniform, Pat in Pikeville. Is that Pikeville, Kentucky, or where exactly is Pikeville? I know the one in Kentucky. That's the only one I'm familiar with.
I'm in Pikeville, Tennessee. I'm in Bledsoe County. I'm about 80 miles west of you.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for checking in. How's the repeater coming in on your to you? Is it coming in like an S9, or we taking advantage of some what is that, atmospheric conditions here?
Greg, I'm going to step out a second. I'll be back. A4WX.
All right, thanks. Go ahead, Pat.
I got an S8 and absolutely great copy.
WB4GBI repeater.
All right, well, good to hear you, Pat. Thanks for that. Can you normally get into the repeater, or is it just every now and then as the conditions warrant? Because you may have said it, and I may have doubled with you just slightly.
No, I heard all of what you said there. Yes, I don't work this repeater very often, but I heard the net going on, thought I would check in, and I appreciate you letting me.
Roger that. Well, thanks for that. And yeah, you're more than welcome to check in. And as severe weather develops in the area, we gather on this repeater for SKYWARN nets. So if you need to, you can certainly listen into us. While I'm thinking about it, real quick, what's a good repeater in your neck of the woods for SKYWARN nets?
Oh, well, we have a great repeater here in the county. It's up on the mountain between Pikeville and Dayton. It's the 147-285. And we have a positive offset of 103.5.
All right, copy that. 147.285 in the Bledsoe County, Pikeville, Dayton area there. What's the name of the? Do you know the name of the mountaintop it's on?
Well, it would be Walden's Ridge.
Okay, I am familiar with Walden's Ridge, so thank you. I appreciate the heads up on that. Yeah, just something to keep plugged in. Like I said, we're kind of getting some information on other nets in the area so that we can have others participate and listen in if they can't or have trouble hitting this one. So thank you very much. I appreciate it there, Pat. And have a good evening there. Any other check-ins? This is WX4TYS. All right, nothing heard at this time. Real quick, Bart or Gene, if either of you are still in there from Kingston, not Rockwood, real quick, tell us about your all SKYWARN nets. I know you're trying to get some started up in District 4, if you're still in there. This is WX4TYS.
Gazer and G-Wild, so far, when there's really bad severe storms, then we're going to try and get on. We did try to get on the 147-150 up in Anderson, but got almost no traffic. Then when we popped over to the Mount Roosevelt on the 147.015, that's where everybody seemed to be discussing weather, despite the fact that I was broadcasting that I was going to have the net on the 150. Over.
Okay, copy that. Yeah, I think if you're starting something up or trying to get something kick started like that. Just takes a little bit of time. Just takes time for people to get used to it. So keep at it if you want to continue using 715. I've told you this before. Tim Berry has given us a blanket authorization to use SKYWARN on any of his repeaters. So you have that from him if you want to continue trying on the 150. And but yeah, if everybody's over on the Rockwood machine, sometimes you just gotta go with that to try and get the word out and let them know what the weather's doing in the moment. So certainly understandable. So, all right, thank you, Bart. Appreciate that update. Real quick, anything else there, Bart, on your end?
What I was going to say was that what I may try to do is the 015 on the quarter hours and the 150 on the top and bottom of the hour. But yes, I'm definitely going to keep at it.
Roger that. All right. Well, yeah. Keep us informed on the progress, and you know how to reach me, and we'll definitely try and help you out as best we can. All right. Thanks a lot, and have a good evening. Right. Any other check-ins before we move on to some discussion? This is WX42 Ice. All right, nothing heard. Did want to give everybody some heads ups on upcoming SKYWARN spotter classes. This is all basic spotter level training, and there's 6 scheduled classes coming up now through the first couple of weeks of May. There could be some more added as classes get scheduled, but the SKYWARN spotter training classes are free. They're open to the public. Anyone can participate. Don't have to be a ham, don't have to be emergency services, don't have to be a meteorologist. Just have to be interested in the weather. It's not a ham radio thing, it's a public service thing. So the spotter training is available to everyone and anyone, like I said. Goes on in person or across the county warning area for Morristown. And there's been a few that have been online, and we'll talk about those here in just a moment. Coming up tomorrow night, April 7th at 6 o'clock, Knox County here in Knoxville will be having a SKYWARN spotter class. It's at the community room at the Knox County Health Department on Dameron Avenue. Dameron, Dameron. Sarah Delosier is the point of contact. You can reach out to her for scheduling. They ask that you register and schedule just so that they have enough seats made available for these classes. So just just as a courtesy, make sure that you register previous to attending. Then on Tuesday, this will be April the 8th at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Sevier County is going to have one at the Sevier County Commission Room, room 306W. It's on Court Avenue in Sevierville. And Joe Ayers at Sevier County, he is the point of contact for that. So those are the two coming up both tomorrow and on Tuesday. Knox County and Sevier County. Next up will be April 22nd. That is in a couple of weeks on a Tuesday, 2 weeks from Tuesday. This will be in Greene County. They do say the class is full, so it looks like they do have enough people that are registered. You could still reach out in case there's a cancellation. They may be able to make a spot or two available. Sometimes things go awry where people just register but they don't show up. So you can still reach out to them if at all possible. Next up on the 24th, which is on a Thursday, it'll be 2 weeks from Thursday, will be Morgan County. Morgan County at the Emergency Operations Center in the lower parking lot is where you should park. It's on Ralph Hamby Lane in Wartburg, and Ethan Webb will be the point of contact for that one. The time on that one is also 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Next up is Union County at the courthouse on Main Street in Maynardville. That will be on April 28th. That's coming up, I believe, 3 weeks from tomorrow. Morgan Kreider is the point of contact for that one. That's in, again, Union County in Maynardville on April the 28th at 6 o'clock. And finally, the next one that we have is it's going to be about 4 weeks from Thursday on May the 8th in Unicoi County in Irwin. And Justin Ferris, KE4PCX, is the point of contact for that. Look him up on QRZ. You might be able to reach out to him that way, and put yourself on the list. So I just put in the chat room on YouTube the link to this page for the spotter training classes. You can go there and click on the link to register and attend a class. They take about 2 hours, and again, they're free and available to anybody as long as the class isn't full. So be sure to register and get in there. If for some reason you can't attend an in-person class, there is a virtual spotter class. It's on the page for the spotter training classes at the bottom. It's called a virtual SKYWARN spotter training class. It's kind of like a presentation, almost like a, I wouldn't say a PowerPoint, but it's interactive. And you can take that. Takes about 45 minutes to an hour if you're speeding through it to complete. If you're doing it for the first time, it may take a little bit longer. But once you complete the training, you'll get a quiz at the end of it, and when you pass the quiz, you'll be able to register for a spotter ID card and a certificate, which will be emailed to you. So do take part in that if you'd like. And also, when you go to these in-person classes, make sure that you do sign in on the right paperwork. There are forms that, you might have a form for the club or the sponsoring agency that you might have a check-in sheet for them, but there should be one specifically for the Weather Service.
WB4G.
God, my nose is itching. It's the allergies, folks. And make sure you do sign in for the one that's specified for the Weather Service so that they can log you as having taken the training and they can issue you a spotter ID. Now, once again, spotter IDs are not a requirement or a requisite of any kind to check into any of our nets, but for some it's a nice to have, good for bragging rights. So, but for checking into a weather net that we conduct here in District 5, it's not a requirement. But it is good training to have so that you can tell us what you're looking at. So. Definitely consider investing in that and getting your certification. If you haven't taken it in over 2 years as well, every 2 years is the recommended time frame. So if you haven't taken it in a while, it's good to get a refresher. Are there any questions or any fills? Any requests there for information? This is WX4TOS. I keep hitting the microphone. Sorry, folks. All right. With that, we're going to start talking a little bit about another service that you can participate in. If you're a weather geek, you can certainly, like myself, you can certainly do some online courses. And the Nashville Weather Service over in Old Hickory they are offering Weather 101 classes. These are free interactive classes that help the public learn about meteorology. I'm looking at their weather page right now. So, which has a copy of the schedule of all the classes that they're offering from tomorrow until the middle of May. It's been going on since the end of March. They had to postpone a couple of classes last week due to the weather that's been going on out in West Tennessee. But these classes explore the concepts that are formally found in what would be considered their advanced spotter classes. Plus, they offer some more. Individuals or groups will be able to complete the courses in the comfort of their own home using the extremely user-friendly computer program GoToMeeting. So, if you don't have GoToMeeting installed, I think when you go to register or to start the class, it'll install a plug-in to your browser to allow you to participate. The only requirement they have is that you have speakers to listen, at least if you're using a computer. If you want to ask questions, they have the capability for voice over IP microphones, but it's not a requirement. My nose is itching. I need to take an allergy pill. So if you want to sign up for the online classes, you go to their website. It's at weather.gov/OHX, Oscar Hotel X-ray, /Weather 101. And Weather 101's all one word, no spaces or underscores. Weather.gov/OHX/Weather 101. I have it in the YouTube chat if you need a fill. There's also links on our Facebook page. I've provided several scheduled posts coming up either for the week or for the day of that will have the classes listed there. And again, like I said, some of these classes could get canceled due to weather situations. Like last week, they had a lot of flooding and severe weather and a couple of tornadoes out in West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee area. So if there's a weather situation that's active, they probably will postpone the Weather 101 classes as needed. My nose. Some of the courses that they are offering include severe storms. That's tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And that's 7 o'clock Central Time, so it'll be 8 o'clock Eastern Time. So they are an hour behind, so schedule accordingly. They either have them on a evening schedule at 7 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, or in the mornings for some of these classes at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're not working, like I am, you can attend some of the morning classes. But for the most part, they try to accommodate both time frames and several different days of the week, typically Mondays through Thursdays. So tomorrow it's going to be on severe storms. That'll be a good one to attend if you're interested. Then Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, they're going to do one on upper air soundings, how they take soundings and readings to get forecasts, like the Cape information, to kind of gauge what kind of stability or instability is in the atmosphere, to forecast the weather coming up. Then on Wednesday the 9th at 10 a.m. they're going to do one on the North American monsoons, which do happen. I think that's mostly out west, but they do cover those. Then Thursday, April 10th at 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, they're going to do one on rip currents. Other classes include global circulations, flooding, tsunamis, 3D observations, quasi-linear convective systems, or QLCSs. They'll have a class on the basics, which is kind of like a basic SKYWARN class. Then they offer classes on tsunamis, the satellites that they use to forecast weather, global circulations, winter weather, fire weather, the radar, and using AI in the SPCs for convective outlooks. So these are just some of the classes that they're offering at various times. If you go to the link that's in YouTube, or if you go to our Facebook group, you'll see the posts there, or I'll give the URL again, weather.gov/OHX/weather101. And weather 101 is all one word. And those are numerals 101. Are there any questions or comments about these Weather 101 classes from Nashville? This is WX4TYS.
Comment.
Yeah, comment. Go ahead.
R4XE. I'm sorry, I missed part of that. Do you have to go to Nashville for the classes?
Allergy pills. I'm sorry about that, Joe. What was that question again about Nashville?
Yeah, do you have to go to Nashville for the classes? I had to step out for a second, so I missed part of what you were talking and came on the end of it.
No, these are all virtual classes. They are all done online, and they're done through the GoToMeeting app. And if you don't have it, they have like a free plugin that will install on your browser for the session.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. And thanks for catching that. But yeah, again, you can use it on your computer, iPad, iPhone, your Android device. Just use the app. Like I said, if it's on your phone, I think you'd go to the App Store to get it. But if it's on your computer, it should prompt you to download a plugin that is free. So definitely consider doing that. Any other questions? Again, I highly recommend the Weather 101s. Again, they're free. Last about an hour, if that. Typically, I think they try to go 45 minutes with 15 minutes for Q&A, and good knowledge to have to if you're interested in weather in any capacity. Again, any other questions? WX4TYs. Sorry, my nose is itching. I just took an allergy pill and I put yeah. Give me a damn scrub brush. All right, nothing hurt on that. So, one other thing to discuss. I know that there's been some bad weather out in the western and central parts of Tennessee the last week. They did have, I think they had an EF3 tornado in Selmer, Tennessee, back on the 2nd. So thoughts to them. Hope everything's okay there. I don't know if there was any fatalities. Somebody may be able to catch me on that. But definitely something to think about as we enter severe weather season is flooding. I know flooding's probably on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, especially with what happened back in October with Helene, as the remnants came up and caused a lot of flooding in western North Carolina and far east Tennessee, around the Irwin area where they're going to have their spotter training class here coming up. But figured we'd take this time to discuss flooding just a little bit. Before I do, let me take a standby for any late check-ins, either on YouTube or here on the net. If anybody wants to check in late, call now. The WX4TYs.
WB4GBI repeater.
Romeo Delta, WBRD, Bill over here in Newmarket, Jefferson County. Just wanted to check in. Good evening.
Okay, gotcha. W8BRD. Bill, I'm sorry, did you have something? You doubled with somebody else, but I did catch that you were checking in.
No, sir. Just checking in, wishing you a good evening.
All right. Well, good evening to you, sir, and thank you very much. Go ahead, Josh. You said you had a comment.
I know you're getting ready to get into flooding. Just wanted to note, yesterday and Friday, I drove through the Helene damage, seen it firsthand for the first time, and my God, that's biblical over there. It's terrible. You can very visibly see where the interstate's washed away, and we're talking about intermittently for about 10 miles, just the eastbound lanes are just completely gone. It's unreal. Unreal. That's all I had, Greg. Back to you.
Yeah, I saw some of that as well when I had to make a trip to South Carolina, and coming back through that morning, it was literally an overnight trip, and coming through that morning, it was definitely, like you said, biblical. You don't see it until you get to the lower parts after you come over the mountain, especially if you're coming over on the highway part of it. You're definitely seeing a pretty biblical situation there. And we have a check-in from Prince Edward Island. Thank you very much, Richard, and good to hear you, or have you in, at least on YouTube there. Victor Yankee 2, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. That's the third Whiskey Tango Foxtrot call sign I've heard. I had one earlier, I believe, in the Kilo Zulu 4, Shane over in Copperhill on checking in on YouTube. So thanks a lot. Anyway, back to the flooding. Did want to discuss it a little bit. There are different types of floods. The most common ones that you hear about for the warnings are flash floods and just flood warnings. Flood warnings, flash flood warnings, flood watches, flash flood watches, and a flash flood emergency. So the difference is basically the timing and the intensity. So when you're talking about a flash flood, it's a rapid onset. Flash floods are characterized by sudden and rapid rising in water levels. They happen, in minutes or within a couple of hours. Relatively, it's a relatively rapid rising of water. Some cases it's like a wall of water. You may see these out in the out west where they have floods, or they have heavy rains in the mountains, and the runoff comes down into dry creek beds, and you'll see that commonly occur. That does happen here in our area as well, especially when there are some areas that have low or dry riverbeds, and they only tend to flood during rain events. And then you have another characteristic of flash floods is heavy rainfall. Heavy rainfall is intense rainfall over short periods of time. What happened during Helene was extremely heavy rainfall. That like I said, biblical. It was. I think they said a once in a 1,000-year event. Someone can correct me on that. But it just overwhelms the ground's capability of absorbing water. If you have light rain over several days or several hours or days of time, an inch of rain per week, the ground typically can absorb that and disperse the water without any damage or any threat of destruction. But when you have inch an hour rainfall rates, or 2 inches within 24 hours, which is the severe criteria that we go by, typically the rain falling at those rates or higher doesn't allow the ground to absorb the water in a fast enough time to where it prevents flooding or potential flooding situations. Comment go?
I'll let you finish up there, Greg. I just want to come back to the inches per hour and define that a little deeper.
Yeah, severe weather criteria for us when we do our SKYWARN nets is 1 inch per hour or 2 inches within 24 hours. 1 inch per hour or greater typically could be an indication of flash flooding. 2 inches or more in a period of 24 hours, in a 24-hour span, could be a predecessor of flooding, of regular, I would say regular flooding, but not a flash flood event, but a flood event.
So those for with weather stations. I just want to put a backfill in here because this gets easily confused with the weather station readings that you will get, especially I know on Davis, or if you're using weather software, it'll tell you what your rain rate currently is. You can have a rain rate of 6 inches per hour, and that does not trigger or will not trigger a flash flooding or a flooding warning. It's not criteria for that. What you need is total accumulation. So your total accumulation in the last hour is what we're looking for when you're reporting. So if you have 6 inches per hour coming down, raining cats and dogs, that is not a triggering event for a warning. However, if you've got a total accumulation of 1 inch in under an hour, that could trigger a warning and should be reported. If you have 2 inches in under an hour, it will trigger a warning and it should be reported. But that is total accumulation. It is not the current rain rate. We do not need rain rates. When you get into flash flooding, we're looking at how much total accumulation has happened within a 3-hour or 6-hour window. Generally, if it's under 3 hours, that's your most significant warning time of flash flooding. If it's greater than 6 hours, then it's going to be more of a flood warning that comes out. KG4QW, I hope that helps.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. This is a question I've personally asked the former warning coordinator, Howard. You mentioned him earlier, and I played Stump the Band with him because I asked him, "How can you tell if you don't have a weather station? How fast the rain is falling to give an indication of rain rates?" And he actually had to take it back to his superiors to get an answer. The basic answer we got was, look for how fast the water accumulates on the roads, in the culverts, in the low-lying areas. If you're seeing, the visibility is also a factor. If you're not able to see like 100 feet in front of you because of the heavy rainfall, or if the rainfall is so heavy that using your wipers on maximum still makes it difficult, then chances are it's greater than 1 inch an hour. So that's one way to tell. Another thing is just pay attention to where the water is rising, and especially the areas you're familiar with. If you see it in the low-lying ditches and the culverts areas, where you see that water rising rapidly over a period of time, and that could be an indication of 1 inch an hour, 2 inches an hour, and that's how to tell when you don't have a weather instrument handy. If you have a weather station handy, then obviously it's a lot easier to tell. But yeah, good catch on that. Anything else there, Brandon?
For those of you that are part of the Discord, and I'll try to drop it onto the Facebook page too, but there is, on weather.gov, a official flash flooding definition. I provided the link to you there. There's also, if you want to go to water.noaa.gov, you can actually look at river gauges, flood stages, and it's hard for us. And I'm glad you pointed out, even Howard, if you will, the top of the chief, if you will, at the Weather Service has to go back and sometimes get direction on this. It's because it's for you guys, and I'll try to get it uploaded to the Facebook page. And certainly, if you've got questions around this, if you do take a training class, one of the certification class, great topic to bring up. KG4QWI.
WB4GBI repeater.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. Any questions for Brandon? All right, nothing heard. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. And yeah, definitely it does help. So continuing on about the the differences between a flood and a flash flood. Flash flooding is more localized. Flash floods are often localized to specific areas such as washes, rivers, or canyons. They can be along a creek bed, going down a road. It may be limited to communities. Could be limited to a specific area in town even. Typically is not a not a large scale event when it comes to area. Flash flooding is of course dangerous. They can be extremely dangerous due to the rapid and violent nature. If you have something like a levee breaking, or like what we had with Helene, where you had water going over dams that were designed to hold the water back, but the water rose so rapidly that it actually went over the dam before they could have a chance to discharge it properly. Then the violent force of that flash flood could be way more intense than what people realize. A lot of people, when you cross if you see water on the roadway and the water's crossing, it may look tranquil, but then underneath it could be very turbulent because it's a fast moving undercurrent. So that the Weather Service says turn around, don't drown, for a reason. But yeah, a wall of water that rushes down a canyon after a thunderstorm, or washes down a creek bed, like I said earlier, a dry creek bed, because there could be rain in the mountains, but down in the valley there may not be much going on there. The water coming down, it's like a wall of water. It can, you see these videos on YouTube of it washing away brush, and you see big giant stones getting tumbled around like they're nothing. So definitely something to take seriously. That's the WX4TYS. When it comes to flooding, a flood event, it's a gradual onset. It can gradually occur over a longer period, taking days or even weeks. It's characterized by prolonged rainfall. Not the Helene stuff like what we had there, but like what's going on in West Tennessee, where they've had rainfall for days and days and days, and you have several inches of rain falling over several days' time. The water's got to go somewhere, and it may accumulate slowly. It's more widespread, like along the Mississippi River. You'll see this in Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois. You'll see large swaths of the Mississippi River, several miles inland, being affected by flooding events when you have tremendous amounts of rainfall in the north near Minnesota and Iowa and Illinois, and all that rainwater has to travel down the Mississippi, and if the dams can't manage it properly, then it just starts backing up and filling up several miles inland. I don't like this definition, but it came from FEMA. It says it's less dangerous. I don't know how anything could be less dangerous, but when it comes to flooding, it can still cause significant damage and loss of life, but because it's so much slower, I think that's what they mean by it. But even though they say it's less dangerous, it does not mean take it lightly. You might have days to prepare for a flood event, like what happens along the Mississippi. Sandbagging areas around your home so that you can prepare for the water rising around in your area. you have days to prepare as opposed to minutes when you have a flash flood event. Okay, we're up at the top of the hour. We'll try and wrap it up here. I know we try to keep things around an hour, but we go along if there's interest. Hopefully, if I haven't put everybody to sleep yet. There are different flood types. Like I said, there's flooding and flash flooding, but there's different kinds of floods. There's a river flood. There's a coastal flood. The one that we experience more often here is the river flooding. When water rises over the top of riverbanks due to excessive rain. It could be from tropical systems like what happened with Helene. It could be due to persistent thunderstorms over the same area for extended periods of time. There's also coastal flooding, typically when you have offshore weather events like hurricanes, heavy rainfall, onshore winds blowing in. Places like Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, they get impacts from shallow coastal flooding all the time because of where they're at. They're pretty much at sea level, as opposed to here in East Tennessee where we're generally, like my house, I'm at 1,100 feet above sea level. Then there's the storm surge kind of flooding, which is characteristic of hurricanes. When all the hurricane force winds blow the water inland, and can be aided by the high tides, the low atmospheric pressures. It's very dangerous because the storm surges can be sudden. You may see nothing happening, and then within like 5 minutes you could be inundated with about 5 feet of water. They can go up to 20 feet or more in some cases. I know that what was the one last year? And not Helene, but there was another one. Katrina. I think everybody knows about Katrina. That caused some, but there was another one that maybe Michael, I think, caused a significant amount of damage from storm surge. So definitely not to be taken lightly.
Talking about the one that hit Panama City, Greg, 4WX.
Yeah, there was one that hit Panama City, and that was that was more wind than storm. But I thought there was another one, maybe down. There was the one down in near Naples, Southwest Florida, that hit last year. I had a couple of friends that have houses down in that area that, and there was the one there was the one that did do some serious destruction down there off of Fort Myers. You know which one I'm talking about.
Okay, if you're talking about Panama City, that was Michael. That was, probably 5-6 years ago now. The other significant storm from last year was Milton.
Okay, yeah, that may have been the one I'm thinking of. So, besides Helene, of course. So yeah, there's the storm surge. Then you have inland flooding, which occurs when moderate precipitation accumulates over several days. The intense precipitation falls over a short period, or a river overflows because of ice or debris jam, or a dam or levee failure. Hurricane Floyd back in 1999, aided by Tropical Storm Dennis, caused widespread flooding and led to $3 to $6 billion in damage reported after those storms. This is again from this actually is from the NSSL, National Severe Storms Laboratory.noaa.gov. Here's another factor. We've had a lot of wildfires, spotty wildfires, not the levels of what happened to Gatlinburg a few years ago, but we have had some wildfires in the area. What can happen is if you have a wildfire and then you have heavy rains, that can lead to flash flooding and debris flows, and these flash floods bring that debris down with it, and when it hits an object like a car or a building, a shed of some sort, it could just take it right with it. So what can happen is when the wildfire happens, it burns up a lot of the brush and the growth and the grasses. A lot of that gets burned up, and you have nothing but bare soil, more often than not, or very very light soil or light growth where it's mostly soil that's exposed. And so rather than absorbing the rain, it just acts like just acts like a deck. Just takes that water and shoots it on down, wherever gravity is going to take it. So when you have an area that's been susceptible to wildfires, like down in Monroe County recently, heavy rains can cause flash floodings, in part because of that. So that's another factor to consider.
WB4GBI repeater.
The word I was looking for was vegetation. When the vegetation's burned away and you've got nothing but soil, the water's got to go somewhere. So if it doesn't go, it get absorbed by the vegetation, it just runs off and down the hill there. All right. Any questions or any more comments about this? WX4TYS. I started to double with somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah, 4AMC. So if I'm understanding everything you're talking about with the flooding correctly, then when the creek behind me floods, when we get a lot of rain, because it definitely does start to flood up, would that be like regular flooding, or would that be flash flooding? Because it doesn't take much for it to flood.
I would consider it flash flooding. I mean, if it rapidly rises, and like you said, it's typically when it happens during the rain. So, I mean, that could be runoff. I mean, that's, as long as it's not threatening your house or anybody else's house for that matter, it could just be considered normal runoff. Elevated levels of water to definitely pay attention to, and keep in mind, if you're watching the radar and seeing if there's more rain forecast, take appropriate measures. But if it rises up a couple of feet during a rainfall, then goes back down a couple of feet almost immediately after a rainfall, that could be considered like a normal runoff event. But it's when it's persistent, or if it's a rapidly rising and the rain is getting more intense, that could be flash flooding. Now, if there's something going on downstream, like there's a dam of some sort that is holding back the water, and the water is not running off like you're used to seeing with that creek, and it's just accumulating and getting higher and higher, that could be considered a long-term flood event if it goes over several days or weeks. But if it just goes up and down with every rainstorm, that's kind of it could be considered flash flooding, but not to the level where they would issue a warning unless it was something of an extraordinary amount of rain.
Backfill, KG4QW.
Go ahead.
Joe, excellent question, and hopefully this will help some others too. If it is a prone to flooding area, such as a creek that you have behind your home, and you said it often rises up out of its banks, that will trigger an urban and small stream advisory or urban flooding or urban flooding event, so to speak, but it will not trigger a warning. It is still meets the reporting criteria because it will trigger an advisory. Now, I will tell you, we don't have to have those advisories come in, or we don't have to have those as like emergency reports. So if we're in an active weather net, we've got severe storms in the area, and you've got a creek that's out of its banks. That's all we need to know, is that it's a creek out of its banks, or a, if you will, if advisory. You may see it pop up in some of the feeds, but you're not going to hear tones go out because it's not considered life or death. If it does approach an area where it is up to a home, then that does trigger or need it to be reported so we can escalate that, and it would meet a warning criteria. Hopefully that helps kind of fill that in. KG4QW.
Thanks, Brandon. It does, because I mean it runs right behind the campground that we manage and that we live in. We had one incident earlier this year where it got way out the banks, but it's never done that before since I've been here. I've been here 6 years. But it does regularly flood, and usually if it gets up high enough to be just about over the bank here, then it's further down the road. It's out of the banks, and this is a creek that feeds into Dollywood.
Yeah, and it's a really good point that you brought up, because in campgrounds especially, we've seen this happen. And if it rises up into the campground area and evacuations must occur for that campground, that means it does need a flash flood warning. It does need to go out through the EAS system. And so when you report that, we need to know that evacuations are in progress or evacuations are imminent. If you give us those trigger words, we're going to report that to the meteorologist, and they're going to send tones out and activate EAS for that area. KG4QW.
Thank you for that information, Brendan. I appreciate it. KR4AXE.
All right, thank you. Any others? Okay, nothing heard. Thanks. Good questions there. Good topics there. So, talked about what, the different kinds of floods here. Flood warnings versus a flash flood warning, or flood versus a flash flood. There's the flood watches and the flash flood watches, which are different. Basically meaning conditions are favorable for a flood or a flash flood. And then there is a flood warning and flash flood warning, which means conditions are imminent. So if you hear a flash flood warning, it means that conditions are imminent, that a flash flood could occur. And you'll typically get those warnings, like I said, for a more localized area of where they are occurring. Typically, the flash flood warnings will have creeks, specific creek locations or areas within a county that are prone to flash flooding. They will be announced in that. In a flood warning, you could have entire areas, entire counties, entire stretches along a river, or it could be something even in a generalized fashion, saying areas along the Tennessee River from such and such dam down to such and such area are considered in the warning box. So you may come across those. But again, same as the difference between any watch and warning. A watch means conditions are favorable. You have the ingredients for this event, and then you have the warning, which means that the ingredients have been put together and have made the taco. Somebody did that once. They said, you have the ingredients for a taco, and then you have the taco. So if you have the ingredients for a taco, it's a watch. If you have the taco, it's a warning. So, so now that we have that, now there's also the flood emergency or flash flood emergency. Those are the extreme events, like what happened with Helene. You had emergencies issued because you had the dams up in Upper East Tennessee overrun by the waters. There was at one point there was the thought there was a dam in North Carolina that had breached, but it turns out it had not. But that's a whole other story itself. But if you have a dam breach or a biblical rain event, then yeah, you're going to probably get a flash flood emergency.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
One of the things with flooding, especially localized flooding, that people don't think about oftentimes, and I know state maintenance crews don't always think of it either, is maintaining the ditches and the culverts. During, I think it was Isabel? We lived in Virginia at the time. Hold on, let me reset. Okay, we lived in Virginia at the times before we moved here. And that we got something, Eastern Virginia, they were below Richmond, and we had something like 4 major hurricanes in 3 years. It was horrid. We were not used to that much activity. And a lot of maintenance, there's a lot of wooded areas in between the subdivisions like there is here. The state had not done a good job of keeping up with maintenance on the culverts and stuff. And in the Chaco Valley, or Chaco Bottom in Richmond, it flooded at one of the hurricanes. Nobody knew there were culverts underneath those trees at the very bottom of I call it the Chaco Bottom bathtub, because that's what it was. Anyway, when the rain started coming, the water backed up. It flooded a whole mess of businesses, killed several people because their cars started floating away. They were trying to get away, and the water rose faster than they could do it, and they drowned.
WB4GBI repeater.
Yeah, and that's why you see a lot of flooding around construction sites as well. If you're familiar with construction here in East Tennessee, which never happens, let me tell you, oftentimes they're doing road work, and the normal patterns of runoff are either disabled, cut off, or like what you said there, Kathy, they're just completely forgotten. So I've more often than not, like Alcoa Highway going to and from the airport, there was a rain event last year. They've been doing a lot of that road work to widen the Alcoa Highway area, and there was a pretty heavy rainstorm that actually was washing the construction barrels into the middle of the road, and people were actually getting redirected into the construction areas where all the equipment was, because the rain barrels had been washed into the roadway, and people were thinking that it was some redirect of the traffic pattern, when in fact it was the flooding causing it.
Oh my land, that's a major faux pas on the construction crew's part. I used to work for VDOT, so I'm particularly aware of stuff like that. I notice things like that, and it can be really aggravating. I just want to jump out of the car. Chapman Highway, Alcoa Highway, and like you said, the construction zones. When I see something out of place, it's everything I can do, especially if my better half is driving. It's everything I can do to stop myself from wanting to stop the car, get out, go fix it, so somebody doesn't wreck or somebody doesn't get stuck in a huge, 18 inches of mud.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy how some of these, and I'm not trying to blame the construction crews. I mean, they're just trying to get whatever it is fixed, but it's something that's not really considered or taken into as much consideration as it should. Oftentimes, more often than not, when there is road work being done, the normal paths of runoff are essentially cut off due to the road work. So. Yeah, whenever there is a heavy rainstorm and I have to drive through something like that, if I have to go through a construction area like Alcoa Highway or Chapman Highway or anywhere in this bleeding state that we have, it's called Big Orange Country for a reason. But yeah, anytime you see I see road construction barrels, and it's raining intensely, I either just pull over and wait for it to end, or I just drive really, really slow, much to the chagrin of some people that may be behind me. All right, any other comments on that, WX4TYS?
QWI, last one, and then I'll head out.
Oh, you've been very helpful. Come on, what you got?
Yeah, so earlier again, and then just to play on my pun, this is why we call it the fluid calculation. Previous hurricanes, debris, people that move their leaves down into, if you will, to the edge of the road, and all of a sudden now it's brought water up because it's made its runoff area impassable. This is why it's fluid, and this is why we rely on spotters so much to make these reports. Turnaround, don't drown has a mission behind it. It really does have a purpose. If you can't see the roadway underneath it, it means the roadway could have washed out. There's no way we can guarantee you that it hasn't. There's no math calculations or hydrology report that can calculate for the factors of what the human element can change or what previous storm conditions may have changed. So just keep that in mind, and that's why you guys are so important for us to get those reports and to feed them up to the Weather Service. Just because what we see on radar, what we see from satellite, and what we see from previous history may trigger a hydraulic event. It may not at the same time. And if it doesn't, but yet there is still flooding there, we need to know that in order to get that report out there. So great follow-up comment there, Kathy. KG4 QWI.
All right, thank you, Brandon, and thank you, Kathy. One other thing here, wanted to discuss. I know we're over on time, but we're good here. I've told you the different flood types. So what should you do before and during and after a flood? So obviously, like the Boy Scouts, their motto is be prepared. So before a flood, you should definitely be prepared. Even if flooding is not predicted, if it's just a typical weather situation, you just never know. We had a situation last year here at in my area where we had a thunderstorm build up, and it trained. It was that training effect where it kept blowing up, and it just built up and kept building and rebuilding, and it kept recycling right over our area, right over our house, basically. And we had like 2 to 3 inches of rain within an hour's time fall in this area, in the Powell area, in North Knoxville area, North Knox County area. Just this continuous cycling and recycling of rain that, from a thunderstorm, just kept building up, and it would travel to the northeast, but it kept starting here. So you just don't know when that situation might occur. It's a very rare event, but it does happen. So, to prepare for these things, you should be informed. Get your alerts however you normally would get it, through an app on your phone, through the weather radios, tuning into a SKYWARN net, however you normally get your information. Always have that at the ready. There is also something I just posted in our chat on YouTube. It's a weather site where it's a FEMA site where you can see where the flood-prone or high-risk areas are in your vicinity. It's at MSC, like Mike Sierra Charlie, .FEMA, like Federal Emergency Management Agency.gov. So msc.fema.gov. You can go there and you can plug in your address, you can plug in your latitude, longitude, you can do a general area like Knoxville, for example, and you can search all the areas that are prone to flooding. So that's a very useful tool to have, to see if your neighborhood, if it does flood, if you're new to the area or you're visiting an area, you can check and see what might be prone to flooding if heavy amounts of rain are predicted. So, like, for example, my wife and I, we're going to go on a trip next week, and the area that we're staying at is right next to a river. So, I can use this to find out how prone it is to flooding. If it's a good runoff, like the area next to Dollywood, or if it's something that can flood and stay flooded for extended periods of time.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is KCW. I'm running a little bit late this evening, Greg. What was that site you was talking about there just now, the FEMA site?
Yeah, Mike Sierra Charlie. MikeSierraCharlie.FEMA.gov msc.fema.gov is the website. It's what does it stand for? Of course, I'm trying to pull it up here, and I don't have the website out. But yeah, MikeSierraCharlie.fema.gov, G-O-V, not .com. But it's the Map Service Center. That's what it stands for.
Hey, roger that. Well, thanks for that, Greg. I'll be standing back by here and listen. KCWB.
Yeah, no problem, Jeremy. Thanks for checking in there. All right. Now, if I can get back to my notes here. So what else can you do before a flood? It says here, contact your local emergency management director to find out if your home or workplace is downstream from a dam and learn more about your community's risk of flooding. So that's certainly one thing to do, to be very proactive. You can also create and review a family emergency plan. Have a plan to go to higher ground quickly if necessary. If you live in a flood zone, hurricane evacuation zone, or an area that is prone to flooding, then you should be prepared to evacuate. So yeah, definitely have a plan. You should have an emergency kit with like prescriptions, emergency supplies, bottled water, non-perishable foods. Something that you can put in a small tote or a small suitcase or something like that, or a backpack that you can take with you if you have to go. Make a record of your personal property, take photos and videos of your belongings, store them in a safe place. Prepare your home for flooding. Make sure that it's got good drainage. These are things to do over a long term. Like I said, in some areas out in the Midwest, they do sandbagging around the property, around the homes, when they know there's going to be a significant flooding event occurring.
WB4GBI repeater.
One of the bigger things, if you're in a flood-prone area, make sure you have insurance. Flood insurance is typically not covered under standard homeowners insurance, so make sure that you check with your insurance company that you have flood insurance. Don't wait until it's too late to find out that you don't have it. So it's very important that you have flood insurance, especially if you're in a low-lying area. You should act now, because in some cases there may be a 30-day waiting period before the flood insurance goes into effect. So don't delay on that. Now that's what to do before a flood. What to do during a flood, or flood watch, or flash flood watch. Listen to NOAA weather radio or local news stations, or check your apps. Make sure everything is up to date. Follow the instructions given by local public safety officials. Be alert to changing weather conditions and be ready to move to a higher ground. Postpone your outdoor activities if necessary. Tie down or bring in the outdoor objects such as patio furniture, children's toys, trash cans, the Alabama state bird, anything that be swept away during a flood. By the way, the Alabama state bird is a trampoline. Consider unplugging sensitive electronic equipment before flooding occurs, but do not touch electrical equipment if it's wet or in standing water, or you are standing in water. Yeah, not a good idea. Elevate items stored in your basement to prevent damage. If you have a sump pump, check that it is working. If you have a catch basin at the street level, where your property is, you might want to try and clear it out before any significant rainfall, to prevent it from getting clogged up and making the situation even worse. I don't know if Joe's going to like this. It says avoid camping or parking along streams, rivers, or creeks, or areas prone to flooding during heavy rainfall. I don't think he's going to like that, but yeah, that's what they say. That's what FEMA says, not me. So don't blame me, Joe. I'm just a messenger.
I don't blame you. It's okay.
But yeah, they can flood rapidly and with little warning. I'm sure you've seen that, but I'm sure that you and the folks there at the campgrounds always are well aware of that and keep your patrons' safety in mind. So that's what to do during a flood. What to do during a flood warning or flash flood. That's a flood watch. The flood watch or a flash flood watch. During a warning situation, you would move immediately to higher ground. Continue to check the media or your apps or NOAA weather radio for emergency information. Again, follow the instructions from public safety officials such as police and fire. If advised to evacuate, you should do so immediately. If you have to evacuate, take the essential items and please bring your pets if it is safe to do so. Even if it's not safe to do so, I'm going to grab the cats anyway. So if you have to evacuate, take the important stuff. Make sure it's all ready to go, like in a safe or in a backpack, and you can get out of there. And definitely consider your pets as well. If you must evacuate or are traveling during flooding, remember you do not walk through flowing water. 6 inches of swiftly moving water can knock you off your feet. I said this before. Turn around, don't drown. Do not drive through flooded roads. Cars can be swept away in only 2 feet of moving water. Sometimes even a foot of moving water. So, depending on how light your vehicle is. If your vehicle is trapped in rapidly moving water, stay in the vehicle. If the water is rising inside the vehicle, seek refuge on the roof. And I've seen this done, and it irritates me to no end, but some people are just above the law, I guess. But do not drive around the road barriers. Roads and bridges may be washed out or structurally unsound. So just because you've lived there your entire life doesn't mean you're an expert on what roads may be safe and not safe. If you're told to shelter in place, listen to local television for radio and updates. Conditions may change quickly, so be prepared to evacuate to a shelter or a neighbor's home if necessary. And finally, what to do after a flood. Continue to monitor the media for emergency information. Follow instructions from public safety officials. If you're evacuated, do not return home until authorities have told you it is safe to do so. You should call 911 to report emergencies, including down power lines and gas leaks. Be a good neighbor. Check on your family, friends, and neighbors, especially the elderly, those who live alone, those with medical conditions, and those who may need extra help. Stay away from downed utility wires. Always assume a downed power line is live. Electrocution is a serious danger in floods, and electrical currents can travel through water. It can't travel through purified water, but if you've seen flood water, it's anything but pure. Once again, turn around, don't drown. Don't drive through flooded roads. Stay out of damaged buildings and away from affected areas or roads until authorities deem them safe. If your power's out, report it to your utility company and follow whatever safety tips that your power company may have in place. Look before you step. Debris, including broken bottles, nails exposed from boards that have been washed around. They can cover the ground and the floors after a flood. Mud-covered floors and stairs can be slippery. And so, yeah, make sure you have some pretty decent work boots to walk around in if you have to go back into an area that you've evacuated from. Listen to the news reports to learn if your water supply is safe to drink. until the local authorities say it's safe to do so. You probably should boil water for at least a minute before drinking or using it for cooking. Somebody on the chat put in here, it's not a bad idea to make sure you have bottled water or a way to purify it. Most water from your tap is contaminated after a flood, so that's a good tip to go with that. Throw away any food, including your canned items, including canned foods that has come in contact with floodwaters. Don't eat food from a flooded garden. You should throw away any refrigerated food that was kept above temperatures of 40 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 2 hours, or of course has an unusual odor, color, or texture. That's just in general, really.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here for AMC. We typically keep anywhere from 3 to 4 cases of bottled water, just for that reason.
Yeah, I got to go out here after the net and go buy some more bottled water for my mom to drink, but also I try to keep as much bottled water around as I can, just in case the power does go out due to some of these thunderstorms. So, yeah. There's purified water, and then there's spring water, and then there's distilled water. There are 3 different types of water. So, probably good idea to keep distilled water for, like, if you have a CPAP. I use a CPAP now. So, have distilled water for devices that use water like that. Purified water for things like coffee, cooking, and anything that might use a boiling water effect. And then you have your spring water, which can be used as drinking water. You can drink any of these, but if you have a specific purpose, like I said, distilled water for things that are what's the word I'm trying to think of? Sterilized. For sterilization equipment like that. Purified water for cooking and like I said, you can use that for drinking as well. And then spring water for drinking as needed for hydration purposes.
Yeah, I keep at least 3 gallons of distilled. Like you, I use a CPAP, so I've always got water for that on hand. And like I said, 3 to 4 big cases of water, drinking water. I try to keep as much of that on hand as we can. It's something, when you're in an area that floods or, that is prone to flooding, that's something you should definitely be thinking about keeping on hand all the time. Because you just never know when something can happen that, suddenly you're not going to have your normal water to use. WB4GBI repeater.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for bringing that up. It reminds me I have to go to the grocery store after this. So anyway, but yeah, like I said, there's the 3 different kinds of bottled water that I'm aware of. And they each have a good purpose for usage. At least a gallon of water per person in your household. So I would, there's 4 people that live here at my house. So maybe a gallon of drinking water, a gallon of distilled water, a gallon of purified water per each. That'd be 12 gallons total. So not a bad idea to have. And and you can use them. Just make sure you replenish them so that you don't keep a bottle of water for 6 years. But you can use it, but just at least make sure, be conscientious about replenishing them so that you have it on hand if you absolutely need it.
Comment?
Now go ahead, Kathy. Speaking of which,
my reading and studying is correct. That is drinking water and cooking water only. That does not include water for bathing and things like that. So it might be a good idea to have some sort of maybe a IBS or IBC, whatever those totes are, hooked up to a gutter or some rain barrels or something, so that you can use rainwater or other things like that for hand washing clothes and taking baths.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, when's down there at Michael, you usually know if a hurricane or something like that's coming before it gets there. They have a bladder. I don't know if they sell them around here or not, but you can put it in your bathtub and fill it full of water. If you know a storm's coming or a flood's coming beforehand, just fill it full of water, and that gives you, a bunch of water for all that kind of stuff. Back to you, Greg, KCWB.
Well, that's a good suggestion. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I know about rain barrels. I need to get one myself for in my house to use for gardening and things like that. But a rain barrel could be good for using in the event of a bathing emergency. So yeah, good suggestions there. Any others? WX4TYS. If you got suggestions in the chat.
Greg, to add on to what the other gentleman was saying, it's called a water bob, and it fits in the bathtub, and you just fill it up right from the spigot.
Okay, yeah, I know that I've got a backpack that I when I go on hiking trips, and it's got it's like a camelback. That wouldn't be a bad idea to have filled with water as well. In the event you need it. So I mean, my wife and I, we have one each, so we fill those up when we go out on hikes, and so definitely worth filling those up as well. So just kind of like that, only they're not big enough to fit in a bathtub. So but yeah, great suggestions there. Any others? WX4TYS.
Comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Care for AXE. With the camelbacks, you have to be careful about how long you keep water in them. If you keep it in there too long, it can actually absorb stuff from the bladder itself and make the water dangerous.
Okay, that's something I did not know. I mean, I've got my camel backpacks, but I don't have water in them right now because I knew I wasn't going to be hiking through the winter. But yeah, what is there like a time frame, like weeks, months, years?
Your best is to, if you know you're going to use them right away, go ahead and fill them. But don't, if you only use half of it, don't leave the other half staying there. Empty it out, keep it dry, and just refill them when you can. It's not a good idea to leave those full of water all the time.
I disagree with leaving it dry. Freeze it. Empty it out and then freeze it, and you'll kill the bacteria inside of it. You can clean it out, but it'll prevent mold from growing in your tube lines. You do want to get as much water out of it as you can, but if you freeze it, then you're not going to have mold growing the entire time in the humid environment, even if you don't get it dried all the way out. But camelbacks, there's a couple of forums or websites you can find that'll give you some good instructions on keeping those clean, keeping impurities out of them, especially like mold, mildew, some other things that can set up your water or just give your water discolor, distaste. If you have an allergy to mold or you're especially sensitive to it, you don't want to be drinking that. KG4 QWI.
Thank you, Brandon. I forgot to mention about freezing it.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Yeah, it says I just did a quick Google search. It says wash the reservoir with hot water and mild soap. You can use your Camelback brushes from the company's cleaning kit to scrub your reservoir and tube. Brushes are the best way to ensure that you're scrubbing all the areas of the reservoir clean. Now, this doesn't say anything about freezing it, but now when you talk about freezing, are you talking about for a short period of time to try and kill the bacteria, or are you talking about like, freezing it until the next time you use it?
I would freeze it to kill the bacteria, make sure that there's nothing going to be able to grow in it. I don't know how I don't know how long you can leave it frozen. I would assume that because of whatever
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to fill it up with water and then freeze it. You would definitely rupture something. So, but yeah, good advice there. So, but yeah, I appreciate all that. Anything else? Anybody else with any comments on that? I never thought about that.
I got one more comment, Greg, and I'll leave you alone.
No, go ahead. What you got?
Another good idea is to put a gallon jug in your freezer of water and let it freeze. Just leave it down about 3 or 4 inches and it won't rupture the jug. It'll give it room to expand. But I used to do HVAC work down in Florida and stuff, and I told people to do that because if power goes out or anything like that, you got that water to keep your stuff cool. But after it thaws out, you can drink the water. But that's just something I always try to do too. Back to you, KCWB.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, make sure that you put a little bit of air in there, or at least I should say rather you let it breathe like what you said, because it will rupture. I've seen what happens when you put a brand new bottle of water into a freezer and don't do anything other than watch what happens when it ruptures. So it's not fun. And my next door neighbors, they know what it's like now to not have the pipes dripping when the temperatures drop below freezing for a week at a time. And yeah, the entire neighborhood got to see the end result of that. Some definite runoff. Anyway, with that, there's plenty of other stuff we could talk about how to check your home for damage and things like that. I got some of this information from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, or mass.gov. Some of it came from there. Others came from the National Severe Storms Laboratory, NSSL, from NOAA. Others came from the Weather Service itself, National Weather Service. Brandon gave me one from Philadelphia's Weather Service office on flash flooding, as well as from Birmingham, Alabama's Weather Service office. A lot of good resources on flooding, how to prepare for it, what kind of flooding, and again, that website that I mentioned earlier is MSC. Mike Sierra Charlie.fema.gov, and that will take you to a place where you can put in your address or your location or your GPS coordinates, and you can find out what areas around you are prone to flooding. So if you're concerned about flooding in your area, this hopefully will help. So any other questions or comments before we wrap things up? WX4TYS. Okay, nothing heard. Any last minute check-ins? Wish to check in before we wrap things up? Don't have to be a SKYWARN member. It's not a club. Anyone can check in, and same with YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can check in there, even if you're not a ham. This is on YouTube. Here, you got to be a ham. WX4TY, standing by.
WB4GBI repeater. Check me in, Greg. WX4ID.
All right, Jack, got you there in Clinton. WX4ID. What about the other one?
Yeah, check her in, Dave, if you want to.
Give me her call. Is it WJ4ID or what was her call again?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's WJ4ID.
I don't know why I can't remember that. I can remember yours easier than I can hers, but one of these days I'll get it right. All right, thanks a lot, Jack. Good to hear you. Any other check-ins?
I'd like to invite everybody to our picnic on the 19th too, Greg, if you're not aware of it.
No, go ahead and tell us.
It's going to be at Morristown State Park. It starts at 10 o'clock. All hams are welcome. Bring your families. We just asked everybody to bring a covered dish and
right, sounds good. We'll try and be there if we get back home in time. So, kept getting a feeling there was a ham fest that weekend, but I may be wrong. When is the Greenville Ham Fest? Isn't that coming up? Okay, yeah, that's actually the same day there, Jack. Saturday, April 19th. That's up in Greenville, Tennessee. So, what time is your all's picnic?
Starts at 10 and goes to whenever.
Okay, well, their ham fest is from 7 to 7 a.m. for when the gates open. The commercial building will open at 7:30. So, we can make a big day of it. Go to Greenville and then come on over to Norris afterwards. So, yeah, it's feasible.
Yeah, the talking will be 14736.
Roger that. All right, thank you, Jack, and thanks for reminding us. We'll see if we can attend. So, take care of yourself there, and appreciate the announcement there. Any other check-ins? WX4 TYS standing by.
N4 CFR head.
N4 CFR, go ahead.
Just checking in. Head.
Okay, Ed, where are you located? I can't remember.
Union County.
All right, got you in there, Ed. Thank you, sir, and appreciate you checking in. Any others? WX4 TYS. This is good when we have great content. Always happy to run up. All right, nothing heard. Well, hopefully we provided a lot of great information tonight, and judging by the participation, I'm pretty sure we did. We'll try and post some of this information on our website at etskywar.com. You can check us out there. You can also check us out on Discord. If you need a link, you can send me an email, gregk4hsm@gmail.com. You can go to etskywar.net.com.org, and you can find the links there to Discord. If you have any troubles with it, reach out to us and let us know. I want to thank everybody for checking in this evening. As a reminder, we hold this net monthly on the first Sunday of the month at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The next net, tentatively, will be on May the 4th at 8 o'clock Eastern. Same bat time, same bat channel. Our thanks to Tim Berry, WB4GBI, for the use of the repeater. And with that, we will now return the repeater to its normal use. This is K4HSM shutting down the East Tennessee SKYWARN District 5 Training Net at 9:54 p.m. I want to thank everybody. Y'all have a great weekend, and good night.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, before you run off there, April 26th is when we're having the POTA Fest up there. It's going to be at Cove Lake State Park this time, right off of I-75 or on 25 up around the Caribou exit there. Everybody's welcome to attend. We'll have stations set up for all license classes. Anybody welcome to attend. If you don't want to do POTA, just show up and see how you has ideas about operating a portable or for field day or anything like that. But everybody's welcome to attend. Back to you, KCWB.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. I was actually looking that up online, and I couldn't find anything. I guess there's not a website for you guys, and y'all need a website. But, I plan to be there. So thanks for letting me know about that. I got some stuff I want to try out, show off, and get some ideas on. So thanks for the reminder. And we'll see you there.
Hey, roger that. Yeah, you can look it up on the lunchbunch.net. You know, he puts all that stuff on there, too. So it's on lunchbunch.net, or people on Facebook, it's Lunch Bunch East Tennessee and beyond. Back to you, Greg. Y'all have a good night, and thanks for having me there, KCWB.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you, and appreciate you as always. And appreciate everybody. K4HSM. All right. Thank you for the comments. Thanks for joining us. And let me...
K4HSF, this is Kilo 4, Tango Mike Whiskey.
Uh-oh. Yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. That was a really well-run net. That's the first weather net I've ever been on. Because I'd forgotten about it, and Carter reminded me of it. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and listen and chime in and whatever. And I've learned a ton. Thank you for having those nets.
We aim to please, so thanks a lot. And yeah, appreciate everybody giving us some great feedback. And I don't know everything. That's why I do these nets. Get some good ideas like that. Like I suggested the Camelback packs. I never thought about I don't do it, but I never thought that keeping water in a Camelback pack might be dangerous if you leave it in there a long term. I just, as a general rule, I don't fill up something with water if I'm not going to use it over a long period of time. Because of that, even though it's technically sterile or sterilized or supposed to be in a way that you don't contaminate it, those little buggers can get in there and wreak havoc. And so definitely try to minimize any potential harmful bacteria getting into things like that whenever possible.
Yeah, those were excellent tips about those, because I don't have one, but I've considered getting one, because I have a bicycle and I want to, maybe do some hiking and things like this, or maybe just have it, when Carter and I do a POTA or whatever. But how to keep them clean and keep them from getting contaminated on the inside. I was at the Nashville Marathon today doing one of the water stops, and I saw quite a number of the runners with the Camelbacks. So I thought, I wonder how to keep those things clean. Well, you guys answered the question for me.
Yeah, that seems to be a much easier way than what I was seeing online using all this soap and water stuff. Throw it in the freezer. So, anyway. Good ideas there. Yeah, thanks for coming in there tonight. And yeah, good suggestions there. I mean, reminded me, going through a construction area is always the worst, especially if there's a flooding situation. The Alcoa Highway thing where they were redoing John Sevier last year was, like I said, the rain and the winds were moving the barrels around like they were nothing.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. We stayed away from that area. We'd go through 411 and take what I call the short path between our house and Maryville when we needed to go for that reason.
Yeah, they were doing some work on Western Avenue a few years ago, and there was actually some high winds, possible tornado that went through our area. And I was driving home with the kids. I mean, this is like 20 years ago. And, those barrels were just all over the place. And, going through, pretty high water. And there was a situation. They were both in school, and just this torrential downpour came through. And I had to go pick them up. I didn't trust the buses for getting them home safe. And neither did a bunch of other parents either, because the line to get them to pick them up at the elementary school was ridiculous. But I had to go like 5 or 6 different roads. I took like 5 or 6 different detours because the roads that I would normally take were either flooded or going to be flooded, or were just backed up with cars that were trying to find a way to turn around because it was flooded straight up ahead. So it was insane trying to get them home from school that one day.
WB4GBI repeater. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, station, go ahead.
I guess he's not saying anything. He can pop on whenever. But yeah, I am surprised when we moved here, the topography of this area and how many places are low-lying, like along parts of Broadway, that until they started doing some major renovation on the drainage in this area, Broadway and around Adair and 3rd Creek and 1st Creek and 4th Creek and 10 Mile Creek and all this other stuff, it was awful. It was bad.
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to live at Adair. It used to be called Adair Manor, but it's the apartments there, Broadway and Adair. You go back to the cemetery, Lyndhurst Cemetery. That's the apartments there. They gave it a nice name now. It's some nice, elaborate name. The something of Fountain City. I can't remember. It's still a crappy apartment complex. Polish a turd or something like. Anyway, but where we lived was at the bottom of the hill, right next to the creek. So every time we had a big serious rain, the creek and the parking lot would get flooded. The water would get up to close. It would get close to where the cars were, where the baseboards were for the cars. But it would, I think only one time did it actually reach up there, and I mean, it's prone to flooding, but it's, like what we were talking about earlier with the urban and small stream things. I mean, it's prone to the flooding, but it's not going to generate a warning because of it. It floods. It rises quick. Doesn't rise extremely high, but it rises pretty quick and covers the roads, and then it goes down almost as fast when the rains die down.
Yeah, my worry is having kind of a rain event like Arkansas and Missouri got this week. Our terrain cannot handle, I mean, theirs can't either. There's no place for the water to go. But our terrain really cannot handle that because there's no place for the water to go.
Well, around here with all the dams, it does a better job of it than out in the Midwest, where a lot of that water has to go through the Mississippi, and other than some of the dams that are along the line, even with those dams, they can't really shovel the water, through fast enough. In some cases, depending on how much water is coming in. Up here in our area, we have a bit of better flood control, but down in Chattanooga, I know they still have issues. I think Chattanooga got flooded out like not even 10 years ago. There was a real serious flood that got up to like where the aquarium and some of the like the ballpark and a couple of other structures up there in downtown Chattanooga got like put underwater because of it.
KQ4, UI.
Yeah, go ahead.
KQ4, UI, yeah. I think what's unique about this area is that we don't really have the ability to absorb any water. Everything runs off, and so, much like Helene,
we got clay.
An instance where you have prolonged rainfall in these areas leads to sustained damage because our soil levels are very deep. There's a lot of bedrock. A lot of these areas really don't have good root depth and whatnot, and so those prolonged rainfalls lead to saturation, which leads to root systems giving trees toppling over.
Yeah, it doesn't help that we also have clay in our substrate, especially where at my house it's like red clay. It's crazy, and so a lot of that clay, the water just goes running right off like water off a duck's back.
Yeah, Roger on that. It's interesting. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with anything that was said, but it's other areas, other parts of the country that could take a low rainfall rate at a duration of 24 or 36 hours.
utilize differently. And that's a great point. The clay, like there's nowhere for the water to go.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, I think we have better flood control with the dams, but it's not a perfect system by any stretch. And I think if Helene was an example, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Not in this area necessarily only, but like up in Upper East Tennessee, over in Western North Carolina. There's got to be. There's always room for improvement. It's just what approach do you take? A lot of people they want the short-term solution. They want it done now without considering the long-term effects. You get it fixed now, but in 20, 30 years it'll be somebody else's problem. And that to me is not the right approach to take oftentimes. And sometimes, and then of course they look at dollars and cents. If you're trying to do a 20, 30 year solution, you're probably paying 20 to 30 times as much money too. So I'm sure that's a deterrent in some of these solutions as well.
Roger on that, yeah. You bring up a lot of great points, and I think perhaps a lot of our sticky situations have come from people not having that kind of, forward vision. A lot of our Eastern counterparts have it.
Iceland pure.
You got to think about the long-term goals and the long-term picture, but I think you're absolutely right.
Not a
I think
promotion.
that we have a fantastic system in the South, and TVA and everything that operates through there is really critical, and they do a fantastic job. It's a job I wouldn't want any part of, and I have no critiques on how they handle things. It's just, golly gee, maybe times are changing, and maybe the weather and the climate's changing, and maybe we just have to keep being open-minded enough to keep reevaluating how we do things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's always a better solution if you know what you're looking for. So, but there was a game I used to play back. This shows my age, but back at the 1982 World's Fair, TVA had an exhibit, and they had this thing about flood control where you had this big lever, and you had to shift it up and down based on the flooding. Like it would tell you how much water's coming in at the top of the dam and how much water to release at the bottom of the dam to keep the water from going over the top of the dam, and it was this weird little it was like a video game. It's 1982. You can imagine the graphics, and I had so much fun playing that little game. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not as easy as playing a little 8-bit video game back in 1982 for flood control. There's a lot of different things to consider: environmental impacts, the impacts to the things that are downstream, the wildlife and the businesses. There's some of these companies that do the water, the rafting type things. How does it affect them? Businesses that are dependent on the waterways for making things work. A lot of different things to consider. You can't just flip a switch and just let all the water out. Would be nice if you could.
2 ones let it drop there. TQ forward UI for ID. Yeah, I think you just might have come up with like the coolest new Sim City game to come to market in a long time, and it's a regional game, and you're running a dam management system and a river control system, and you have to take into account all these variables that you presented. What TVA does is amazing and complicated, and kudos to them. And I mean, I know we had some catastrophic damage that occurred, but the hope that we learn lessons from this. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of shakeups lately at TVA in particular, but I hope that the rest of us and people who have ears on this frequency, you know, we're just keep this all in mind and learn from it and be ready for the next time. WB4GBI repeater.
Okay, Francis. Yeah, I mean, it speaks a lot about the engineering. You know, there was that one dam, I cannot think of the name of it. Somebody knows, I'm sure. Up there, northeast Tennessee, that the waters went over. Like, they were like 10 feet over the dam. I mean, it was incredible. And they thought the dam was going to be washed away when the waters receded. And then when the waters did come down, they were amazed that the dam was still standing, which says a lot about the engineering that went into that construction. I mean, there was some superficial damage, of course, but you know the dam itself held. And then you have what happened in Orville, California, the Orville Dam, where the water, the overflow chute that broke down because the engineering that went behind that one was never up to par. All the technology. I mean, that part of the dam was constructed in like the 1950s or 60s, I think it was. So I mean, you're talking about 60-year-old technology at least, and it was not fortified anywhere near to handle the water volumes that were coming out of the dam to keep it from being compromised. And you know, you saw what happened there. That was some pretty captivating stuff happening at that time. You know, it's a miracle that the dam did not get compromised. You know, there was some saving graces to it, but yeah, they what went into some of the technology here versus what went on over there. You know, they were both constructed around the same time. Just incredible that one stood while the other one didn't work out as well.
What a fascinating recall from your memory there. Yeah, for sure. KG4 live in Internet. The Orville situation, because they opened up the spill flow, and there was some sort of failure in that system, but they had to keep it open. Otherwise, they were going to compromise the entire dam structure. But you're right. I mean, you know, we depend on all these things from a long time ago to work beyond the means upon which they're asked to do their ordinary day job. And it goes to point out why we build and design and engineer something beyond the scope of the work. And I'm not sure if you recall, but there was a situation in Fresno, not Fresno, I take that back, what's the town, Folsom. There's the Folsom Dam, it lost a gate. A gate broke in the Folsom Dam, and you know, the city of Sacramento was terrified by the situation that happened in the late 90s. And, you know, the water drained, before they could fix it, the water drained all the way below the door level from that door breaking to the point that I believe you could see the town at the bottom of Folsom Lake.
Oh, okay. You know, like where the town got flooded from when they built the dam. That I can't talk. It exposed the that kind of like what would happen here if they drained Fontana or Norris dams. You know, it would expose entire communities that were flooded out when they built the dams.
Yeah, roger that. Just like in the movie with the guy, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" where he's got to go find the wedding ring in the accounting tabletop. What do you call those things with a roll top? I can't think of it.
disc.
Now the roll top disc.
I've never seen the movie, but I assume that that's what he's talking about.
I've seen the movie once and I loved it. I need to watch it again.
It's a southernized version of the Odyssey tale.
Yeah, the Odyssey by Homer. Yeah, I never read the Odyssey, but I wanted to after I saw the movie. So anyway, well, guys, I hate to run. I'll let you guys go. I gotta jump off here. I gotta go run a couple of errands before the stores close, and get some bottled water. So, but yeah, appreciate everybody checking in, and appreciate the conversation. Absolutely good stuff. I honestly didn't think it was going to go this long, because I thought people were going to be like, flooding, it's a boring subject. But no, pleasantly surprised. So thanks again. And, everybody just absolutely can't thank everybody enough for, for all the comments and such. But I got to jump. And again, appreciate everybody, and hopefully we can keep this kind of momentum up. Hopefully we keep dodging bullets, because these storms that come across, they look pretty threatening, and then they, I don't know if it's the plateau or the valley or a combination of things, but there's some sort of a shield, a little bubble that we've got over us right now that's keeping us from getting all this severe stuff that they're getting out west. And how long it's going to last, but who's to say? But definitely, I'm glad we don't have to be reporting about how bad things went in our area here. So anyway, you guys take it easy, and good talking to you all. This is K4HSM 73.
7-3, Greg. Appreciate it, and thanks for doing the net. And also to you too, sir, the other hammer on the line. And I'm going to hop off here too. I've got stuff to do. 73, Kilo 4, Tango Mike Whiskey, out.
All right, everybody.
Before we go, AA4WX.
Uh-oh. Who's he talking to? Who are you talking to, me or who else?
You're the only Greg I know. Did you know that we had a tornado watch overnight last night?
No. I thought there was something, but not a watch. I thought it was something else.
So, yeah, I'm on Facebook and I was scrolling through, and sure enough, at, let's see here, I can't find it, at 4:45 a.m., there was a tornado watch for I-40 and south, and it got canceled around that time.
Yeah, I was looking. I thought it was a flood watch. I saw the flood watch stuff, but yeah, there was a tornado watch last night. But it was such a minor situation. I think they did have special weather statements. Nothing that really set off the my weather radios or anything like that. The closest we had was I think it looks like there was a tornado warning for Marion and Sequatchie counties late last night too.
I didn't know anything about it. I just happened to scroll across it, and I'm like, what? Okay. Well, good thing nothing happened, I guess.
Well, that's what happens when you go gallivanting around the country visiting Hamfest.
Yeah, I was dead. I was exhausted. 8 hours of the Hamfest and then 6 hours driving home. Yep, that's enough to wear you out.
What's Hamfest?
Raleigh.
Roger that.
And I got the big drive in about a month's time. Dayton's next.
I'm gonna jump off here. KQ4 ODY 7-3. Appreciate you guys running
about an inch and a half here, Eric. Yeah, good talking to you, Nick, and good talking to you, Nick, and thanks for your valuable input. I appreciate it. All right, I got to jump off here. Josh got to head to the grocery. So anyway, we'll talk to you later and see what your plans are with dating and such. Anyway, take it easy. It's K for HSM. Good night, everybody. Okay, I am going to turn the volume down. Okay, so almost forgot I was still on the thing there. Let me turn that off. Let me bring myself back up. Yeah, this is not going to look great, but okay. Anyway, all right. Thanks again, everybody. I thought it was going to be a dull net with talking about flooding, but again, a lot of great information came through. A lot of valuable information came through. I hope you all got a lot of good information out of it. And if you have any more input on it, let me know. You can reach me, Greg K4HSM at the Gmail, and like I said, like I just said, we keep dodging bullets with these severe storms. We dodged that big one 3 or 4 weeks ago, the one that caused a bit of an outbreak. They were predicting it to be on the level of like 2011 when it went through Mississippi and Alabama. We didn't get that. It was still bad in some areas, but not like what they were predicting. Thank God. This one that just came through the area overnight was, they were talking about it earlier in the week on the severity. It did not get to those levels. We did have we did have some stuff out in West Tennessee. Selmer, I think, is the name of that town. They had an EF3. And get your flood insurance, spaz. But we don't dodge bullets for very long around here. So there's some stuff coming, I'm sure. But that's another thing. Again, be mindful of the YouTube channels that have these bombastic graphics about severe weather. Armageddon's coming. It's the end of the world because of a thunderstorm or something like that. They're basing a lot of that off of models. So just take that into consideration. Those other YouTube channels out there, they're in it for the clicks. For the clicks, for the clicks. The clicks with the mouse. They're in it to get to get you to watch. They want to tout something colossal to get you to watch. I'm just here to be informative. I'm not here to make money. Josh is there to make money, of course, but that's Josh. But no, I don't have the time or the resources or the personality to make this a money making venture. So I'm just doing it to be informative. I don't want that kind of notoriety, but I just want everybody to be informed. Watch when they base some stuff off of forecast models that are 2 weeks out. It's kind of like the watch versus the warning. The models tell us what could happen based on data from past events, from future events. And the forecast itself, the ones that are about 3 days out and sooner, they're going to be way more accurate, way more predictable, way more informative. I could tell you what it's going to do 2 weeks from now, and the complete opposite happens. And I could tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, and the opposite could happen still. As we get closer to when something arrives. Tacos. Anyway, as we get closer to when the weather event arrives, then we know how severe or not it's going to be. But when you're trying to predict something 2 weeks out, we have great technology, but not that great of technology. So anyway, I got to go. I'm not getting ingredients for tacos, but I am getting bottled water. It was a necessity to get some, And this net was a great reminder that I need to get a lot of it. So anyway, thank you all. I hope you all have a great week ahead. I hope you have a great month of April. These April showers will bring May flowers. And so y'all take care of yourselves. We'll see you next month.